Hey traders, checking into the stock market today. So bulls played defense, holding a key short-term level on the morning, and then they kept control for the vast majority of the day, keeping the gains from the last couple of days. Bears are itching for a pullback. Bulls are itching for daily higher lows to look for an entry. But this is the time where we have to be patient to get what we want as we slowly grind higher. Let's check out the charts. So today the morning was nice and clear in the sense that we had a lot of names opening right at the high of yesterday, and we also had a close by key hourly support level from the end of yesterday. You remember the end of yesterday, we saw some hourly pullback into the close, and we established a support level. So a ton of individual names had that level as support and their high of yesterday as resistance. And so first thing this morning, we're watching those two levels. We either break the high of resistance and see bullish continuation, or we fail the high of resistance, break hourly support, and start a more meaningful pullback. So many names in the first 5-10 minutes rejected from their highs of yesterday and pulled back. So looking at SPY, first 10 minutes. So high of yesterday, 468.88. We reject from 468.95, 7 pennies higher, but essentially a double top, and we pull back. But we didn't come close to breaking that hourly support level. We then chopped around a bit, new high of the day, new low of the day, but did not break hourly support. And really, I was staring at QQQ at this point in time because QQQ, 10 minutes of drop, we held the hourly support level by 24 cents. So there was a top fishing play first thing for aggressive bears. We rejected from the high of yesterday by 24 cents, but only 10 minutes of downside. And if you recall, what marked our bottom, what marked our fear bottom, what was that, 2 days ago, Monday? 10 minutes, rapid drop, hold the previous day's support, and then bulls took over from there. So this was just a micro version of that. 10 minutes of bear, hold the support. We then tightened up. We held the low. We formed a little bit of a falling wedge on QQQ here at those lows, and you could see the pressure just building and saying, well, if the bears are not going to break the low of the day here, we are about to see the bulls shift momentum in their favor, and that is certainly what happened. That marked the low of the day, and the bulls took over from there. So my mindset as I headed into the morning was the same as yesterday. I'm only comfortable keeping an eye out for bearish entries, but I'm going to be patient doing so. And I didn't make a trade in the first 30 plus minutes, so I was not an aggressive bear making a top fish. I just let things play out, but I could see hourly higher lows on our major ETFs were holding. So bears weren't proving anything to us. And that kept me a bit more patient. And from there, so we can see SPY, hourly uptrend still intact. So held the hourly support. Low of today is our new hourly higher low. And really what we're watching overnight tonight is it's a 4-hour bull flag on our S&P 500 futures chart, but we're watching to see, do we set an hourly lower high first? So do we set an hourly lower high and then see the 4-hour bull flag try and confirm? Do we set an hourly lower high and pull back enough to be looking for an equilibrium? The bulls certainly have momentum in their favor. The bears have not been existent. They've been non-existent the past couple of days, but just watching to see how this overnight action is going to tighten up. And the NASDAQ is doing the exact same thing. It's a potential 4-hour bull flag, and we can easily break out to a higher high. Look at this NASDAQ wall of resistance. We're going to call it our quintuple top, where we rejected 3, 4, now 5 rejections at this little zone, but a bull flag right under it. So again, overnight, do we set an hourly lower high first and tighten up? That remains to be seen over the next 4 hours or so into the middle of tonight. And when we wake up tomorrow, that's what we're watching first thing. All right, we've got a 4-hour support level on our futures charts. We know these futures charts are not going to see daily consolidation as long as we're in a 4-hour uptrend. So that support level will now be our gauge as to whether or not daily consolidation is taking place. So bulls keeping their short-term control. Apple, nothing makes market bulls more confident than one of the most important individual stocks ripping to all-time highs. Extremely strong the last 4 days. And the lesson and the takeaway for me is one that I've gotten before, but when a fear bottom is hit, and this is why SPY is so good at V-shaped bouncing, but once a fear bottom is hit, the pullback takes a lot longer than bulls would like. It's a snapback bounce that can keep up for a good bit of time. You know, ideally, bears and bulls alike would have wanted to see this. All right, bears get their chance after a quick bounce. Bulls get their chance for the daily higher low and then rip. But there are many instances where consolidation just goes V-shape, and bulls just take right back over. And right now, SPY is looking at the all-time high, 1% plus away, and it's certainly within striking distance. So again, Apple, major bull, tons of space for a daily higher low to form next consolidation, and the lead tech bull in absolute breakout mode. Very strong. Tesla. So Tesla bouncing today as well. Again, we're looking for a daily lower high, anything under 1173. Tons of space for that to form, but we haven't topped out yet. So keeping control. Here's another example. So again, remember how I pointed out how when there is fear and a big drop, it is the sectors and the ETFs themselves that dictate when bounces in individual names take place. You had Tesla break 978, and then it bounced when QQQ bounced and saw a significant bounce off of that low. So an example on that same thread today would be, well, look at the end of the day yesterday's support on Tesla. That was 1041. We broke that level today to start the morning. Why didn't we see any bear follow through? QQQ did not break that level on its chart. So again, the ETF is a big factor in that. And we know that if the bears are going to get any follow through, the sectors have to be going in that direction. Just think of it at wind at your back. And if I'm bearish, I've got wind in my face if QQQ holds support and keeps going up. If I'm bullish and QQQ holds support and keeps going up, I've got the wind at my back. So I personally prefer to be trading with the wind at my back, which is why I have been trading a bit less these past couple days, because I'm not comfortable going bullish until we see some daily consolidation. Semiconductor space, daily inside bar. So this is nice and clear as we head into tomorrow. NVDA as well. NVDA a little bit weaker, but it's nice and clear where if we open within today's range, it will be a very clear signal that daily consolidation is underway if the inside bar breaks bear. And of course, if it happens on an individual name like NVDA, we want to see it happen on the ETF as well. AMD bounce is a little bit weaker. MU bounce, nice and strong. MU is nice and healthy on the weekly. So semiconductors staying healthy on the weekly, but nice little inside bars to watch tomorrow to see if daily consolidation is going to shape up. And again, if the inside bars break bear, and if QQQ does not lose the hourly uptrend, we're not going to anticipate notable follow through. Bears would want QQQ to lose the hourly uptrend to have the wind at their backs. Healthcare sector, V-shaped bounce. Weekly higher low sure looks like it's set. We haven't confirmed the daily trend change, but we are well off those lows, and we've broken the high of last week. So I'm going to view it as our weekly higher low being set, and we're looking up at 135.34. And again, this is where someone newer learning technical analysis says, well, we haven't changed the daily trend yet. So the weekly higher low is not set yet, and that's perfectly fine. You can take that approach. But for me, that size of a bounce, that clear of a break of the high of the previous candle, I'm calling the weekly higher low set. And we'll look for a daily higher low next consolidation. So certainly on Team Bull, we've talked in the past how XLV sometimes just floats around in the middle, and it's XLF and QQQ trading inverse to each other that are taking all the action. But last 4 days, definitely Team Bull helping this bounce in the broader market. Biotech sector has not topped out yet. We broke the high of yesterday, though not much follow through. So again, keeping an eye out to see if the bulls start to tire a bit and watching for daily consolidation. The moves that the 3 times leveraged ETFs see in both directions on XBI, especially when things are this volatile. Again, you don't need to be looking to trade anything else. If you're a day trader or even a swing trader, they have significant volatility. And just looking at this move, if we look at this move from the end of yesterday, that pullback, that 2% drop is a 6% drop or bounce on those leveraged ETFs. And today's action off the low of the day, that's a 9% move on those leveraged ETFs. So again, and if you're only looking for the meat in the middle, right? I only need 1 to 3% to have a real good day. Just lock it in. So if there's a 9% move, I only need 3% of that. That's great. That's a lot bigger difference than if there is a 1.5% move on a big stock and I need 1% of that move to make my day maker. The more of a range that you have and the smaller the meat in the middle that you need, the easier it is to grab. The financial sector was the weakest sector today, shaping up for the potential of daily consolidation, but not seeing it yet. And hourly lower high into the end of the day, potentially shaping up if the low of today breaks tomorrow It'll be an hourly confirmed downtrend, and daily consolidation will be underway, and we will scout a daily high or low, anything above 37.54. So this sector, more than any other, is shaping up for daily consolidation, but XLV and QQQ both going up today offset the downside in XLF. Write this down if you watch the broader market or growth names. I'll wait for you to get your pen. A clue that I use when I'm looking at my Fidelity screen, engaging what's the market doing, where is money rotating. If XLF is red and IWM is green, that means growth names are having a good day and they stand out that day. Why is that? Because generally XLF is one of the largest holdings in IWM. It fluctuates between XLF and XLV, but if XLF is red and IWM is notably green, somebody's helping IWM go up. In this instance today, healthcare is definitely helping, but again, growth had a good day today and stood out. The cannabis sector stood out, EV names stood out, NIO had a big day, and TAN was green for a while. Not sure how the day ended in the solar sector. I guess we should look. A little bit of green, nothing notable. But again, all these names, PLTR, SQ, solid days today, close at the high of the day. So growth did stand out, and IWM helped us see that. IWM, not very much of a bull move over the high of yesterday. We've got this resistance at 226.75 before gap fill. And again, just like everybody else, we're watching the hourly uptrend, knowing we have to prove the hourly or the daily trend change once we top out. So cannabis sector getting some bounce. Again, it's the weakest of the weak sector, but it is being lifted higher by the entire market bounce. But we know the daily trend change is needed. So aggressive bulls saying, well, I missed this bounce. If you want to stay aggressive, you're scouting the higher low and you're using that low as your stop and you're hoping for follow through. But an interesting example, again, we've just looked at MSOS the past couple of days, but we know what sell the news is. News is priced in, and we've got a video on YouTube. What does priced in mean? If you want to look that up. But we know sell the news. News is known in advance. It's bullish news. Why are we going down on bullish news when it's announced? Because everybody knew it was coming and it was priced in. The people that were going to buy, they bought already, and they're selling into that news. This is an example of buy the news when it's bad news. And there's other examples. Sometimes you'll see shares unlocking, months in advance when shares are going to unlock. The share price drops in advance of that. And sometimes the shares unlocking mark a temporary bottom and you bounce shortly thereafter. So that's another example. But in this example, there was no news. There was inside info for some lucky gents and ladies, and that was pricing in the SAFE Act not being included in NDAA. Then we get the information that the SAFE Act, yes, indeed, it's true, it's not being included in the NDAA, and we have a big green day the day after. Why? Because the people that were going to sell, because it was not included, already did. Nobody left to sell, and only shorts left to cover when they realize, hey, we're not dropping as much as I thought we would. And bulls looking at it and saying, hey, we're not dropping as much as I thought we would. I'm going to buy a little bit. So the bounce underway. Still a clear daily downtrend. Still a trend change needed. Still tons of overhead resistance. But an interesting lesson in buy the news. We'll keep an eye on it. Trades that I took today. So again, this week it's interesting psychologically because Monday I had a day and a half maker playing the NVDA bounce and I felt like a losing day. I felt like it was a loss of a day and I explained that in Monday's video. Yesterday, I had a half day loser and it felt like a winning day for me. And that's because I didn't overtrade and it wasn't my trade setup. It was not my ideal trade setup and I was able to keep those losses small and not trade counter trend too aggressively to end up with a big loss. So opposite day. And really just reflecting upon that, the reason I felt Monday was a loss is because that was my bread and butter setup, that aggressive oversold bounce where should have had a week maker on Monday. If I was in the zone and firing on all cylinders, that would have been the case. And really it was my swing trade of GDX that threw me off. Stick to day trading, Dan. Okay, lesson locked in. So yesterday, half day loser. Trade setup wasn't there for me, no biggie. Today, I forget what I ended up. I think I ended up a little bit green, but the long story short is it's an uneventful week for me so far. I think I'm up maybe a day and a half maker on the week in 3 days. Not bad, but not the 3-day maker I want to be up. So the point and the takeaway, when I am in this mindset of patient, far more often than not, it'll break bull. So if I'm chopping around on my account value and it's sideways and just not a whole lot going on, far more often than not, it breaks bull because I'm being patient. If I'm in a state of patience and biding my time, it's a lot more likely that I do something right to break out of that streak, that little period, versus doing something wrong. Because again, I'm in a mindset where I'm patient and protective, and I've had a lot of little stop outs, break even stop outs. I'll go over some of them today. But the point I want to make is it's good to have goals, but it's important to not feel FOMO, feel like, man, I'm only up a day maker and it's day 3 on the week. I need to hurry up and pick it up if I'm going to meet my goals. That causes us to force trades. And honestly, that's a part where psychologically, I say many times, having multiple income streams is key to being a trader. Because if you're required to pay the bills based on your trading, that's a lot more stress. It's a nagging pressure. All right, you're 3 days in, you're not making the gains on the week. You got to make those gains, find those trades. It's an added pressure that can lead to more mistakes. Trades I took today. So Riot was looking for a short, went short while live streaming, and it was just this 5-minute lower high. So solid move for the bulls. Bitcoin bulls were up. Broader market bulls were up. Big pullback. So I say, okay, I'm scouting a 5-minute lower high on this bounce. And on this bounce, I made a bearish entry. Was going to stop out if the high of the day broke. As soon as we started pulling back, I sold a third of my position to make my break even a bit more comfortable. I think my entry was about 29.50, so I didn't nail the top. And by the time I sold a third of my position, that dropped my break even to, something like 29.65. So just making me a bit more comfortable within this equilibrium, but it was very correlated to QQQ. And this is the point in time where QQQ was fading towards the low of the day, held the low of the day, and then that's the QQQ bull move that I pointed out first thing in this video. So I ended up stopping out. Essentially, I made it so it was break even because I did a little bit of micromanaging. And what I do by micromanaging is just, okay, here's a straight V-shaped bounce, but we're heading right to resistance. So I just take another little top fish trade, cover it for 10 cents. Now my break even is 29.80. Stop goes over 29.81. I stop out on that bull break. So essentially a break even trade. Trying to short Riot, didn't play out. So then I go over to MARA and I look at this pattern. And I say, okay, Riot, lower high, bull flag, bull break. And I go to MARA and it's almost like it's 10 minutes back in time. Because right here is where Riot broke bull and stopped me out. But MARA rejected from resistance. So lower high, higher low, lower or double top, bull flag. So I entered on the bull flag off 5-minute EMA 12 after it had already formed a little bit. Not right away. I was probably entering right around here. Put my stop under the low at that point. I say, okay, well, if it does the same thing as Riot, it's going to break bull here and I'll have a nice little trade. So on the initial bull attempt here, we failed initially. I sell half. And again, at this entire time, when I'm trading these names, I'm watching Bitcoin on this screen, I'm watching QQQ on this screen, and I'm watching the correlations for clues. And there was definitely QQQ correlation going on. So we failed the initial break. I sell a partial position. I'm now in a risk-free trade. We get another little bull break, fail the high of the day, stop out, break even. All right, I just tried the same sector in both directions, break even on both. I'm doing well protecting myself, but I'm chopping around. So from there, CGC gave me a top fishing trade, which I took. This was the trade of the day for me, just in terms of the one that actually followed through. So we hit 11.19, 11.18, 11.18. So somewhere in here, I enter my short. My stop is 11.21. My entry was 11, I think it was maybe 11.15. So risk 6 cents. Didn't stop out by 1 penny, thankfully. And then we get the hourly consolidation into the end of the day. I exit half of the position on the break of 11 flat. And then as I live stream into the end of the day, I just set my stop at 11.01 on the second half. So I pretty much exited everything at 11. So it ended up being 1.5%. Nothing huge, but enough to be the trade that made it an okay day. A little bit of green on the day. So a couple break evens. I did try a top fish at the end of the day on QQQ here. And I was just looking at this resistance building here. And again, when I'm in a trade, and I'm at the computer and I'm seeing these notable moves, I'm micromanaging it. And I don't want to be over trading, but micromanaging is okay. So the initial short that I took was somewhere around here, and we pulled back, but no follow through, and then we double top. So again, oftentimes I'll just jump right in, another little position here, and just a quick little flip, lower my break even. We reject from resistance. Okay, I can scalp a few pennies, a little bit, drop my break even on my core position, and then at the end of the day, stop out. So that was a little small loss. In the end, ended up probably with, it's hard to tell because my SPY long-term no-touch position did well today, and I still have an MSOS core position that did well today, but all in all, an uneventful day for my day trading, and that's A-okay. So that is the review. Patiently waiting for more clarity and patiently waiting for daily consolidation. And it's easy to make your week when the one setup you're waiting on presents itself. So we'll see if I can make my week when we do get daily consolidation. Traveling a bit tomorrow, heading to the beach. I'll be gone for a few days. Not sure if I'll do a video tomorrow. I will do my best. Probably will, if we know me. And other than that, I hope you're well. Let's continue with the adventure series. Do good things. So where we left off, I went through Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, then went through land between the lakes, and then went over to Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri. This is chapter 4. So making our way westward, taking out a pretty good chunk of the country so far at this point. So here we go, Irish Wilderness, Mark Twain National Forest. My hat was pretty fitting. It was actually my grandfather's hat. He got it in Ireland when my parents got married, and I wore it until it fell apart. That was my favorite hat, and I've never found one like it. So in this spot, there were some really cool rivers and just lush green. It was nice and hot. It was June at this point, so some really good spots to just swim. And there were some caves that were really cool where you could just feel really cold spring water coming out of them. A little bit eerie, but a great spot to camp. Nice and flat and shade and not too many ticks crawling all over you. So I had to take a picture of this guy, and I forget his name, but had an interesting encounter with him. I was just there all by myself. Again, in the middle of these national forests in the middle of the week, there is nobody around. So I'm there by myself, just, reestablishing my game plan or picking where I'm going to go. And this guy comes bombing down the hill with this bike with these huge tires and his toddler sitting on the handlebars. He must have been going 30 miles an hour, insanely fast. And he whips up and comes over to me, and he's this Russian guy, and I can't even possibly do his accent. But if you've seen the movies, whether it's Catch-22 or all those movies with the Russian mobsters, this was him. And he told me about how he could steal my car in 55 seconds with a screwdriver and all of his other breaking the law stories and adventures. So I didn't really ever, this entire road trip, which lasted 7 months, I never really had any fear, but I was always, on alert. If I'm by myself, I don't want to tell people exactly where I'm camping when they know I'm by myself. And I always got pepper spray and a knife within an arm's reach just in case. But other than that, I was a little uneasy with this guy, just the way he approached me. But other than that, there was never any fear of animals or being attacked in the middle of the night or anything like that. But had an interesting conversation with him. He ended up, saying he had the greatest weed, and he pulls out this really terrible weed and takes out a can and he crushes it and pokes the holes in it, and he wants me to smoke it. So it was just a fun, memorable experience. And that was the first human interaction that I had had in 2 weeks. And it gets to the point where, the only interaction that I have is going through grocery stores and the woman at the checkout counter. So it was nice to have an actual conversation. He invited me back to his place, but I politely declined because I didn't want to get jumped. Capture that moment, 111 miles on my Honda Civic. Trusty steed. So here's just more of those rivers and caves, and again, just nobody around. You can swim all you want, float down the river, get back to your camp spot, make a fire, go to bed, read a book, think about life, and think about what you're going to do tomorrow. If the next new spot that you have no idea what it looks like. This was a spot that I found, and I'll go through and give some resources because there's some great websites out there. Swimmingholes.org is where I got this one. You also have hot springs websites that are very similar. Freecampsites.net. These are all resources where you can find free camping sites all around the country, and people describe it and they say, you know, when they were last there. This was one I found on swimmingholes.org, and it's the local places that you would never know about. You know, this is a place where all the locals go and swim and hang out, and it's not advertised anywhere. There's no signs, no anything. So I pulled in here and ended up camping. This was actually my birthday night, my 25th birthday, and there was an awesome waterfall and a swimming hole down at the bottom. There's a video somewhere of me dancing to James Brown at sunrise by myself, but just pumped to be alive. I mean, when you wake up to this spot by yourself, it's just hard not to be happy. So, thought this was cool. We had a giant tree break in half and knock down a medium tree that broke in half and knocked down a small tree and broke in half. And that's how I knew Bigfoot existed. That's a pretty cool thing. So that's all I got for Missouri. Not a whole lot going on, just making my way to Colorado. Really, Colorado and Utah was the highlight of this road trip. And in the previous road trips, I went up to the Redwoods and things like that, but stayed in the middle of the country this time around. So we'll head through Kansas. Kansas is sure exciting. If you've road tripped through Kansas, so much to see, so many things to do. I'm just kidding. It's flat and boring, and really you just count the hours until you're through Kansas. So that's that. We'll see you tomorrow, and hope you're doing well.